So for the first phase of this fight, you're fighting Genichiro. Now you'll want to start off by popping your buffs like Echo's Sugar and Divine Confetti. Now run past him and he will immediately use Mortal Draw. Now most of the time he uses it twice in a row though, so you need to be careful because even if you block, it will still do damage through your guard. Now what we're trying to do here is to beat him with using as little healing items as possible so you have them all for when you actually fight Isshin. Now if you stay back just outside the range of Mortal Draw, he will usually then follow up that attack with either a bow shot 1, 2, or 3 times and then using that red kanji thrust attack. If you immediately, after striking him, if you run back to the proper distance, he will use it more frequently. If you stay in too close, he won't, and if you get too far back, he will start to just chase you around without using the move. So you'll have to learn the distance after a little practice. You'll kind of figure it out though. Alright, so here he goes. He uses the attack and then you follow it up with the charged R1 thrust and then immediately back off. And that's it for this phase of the fight. You pretty much just wait for him to use his Mortal Draw, back up, and then wait for him to come back with that red kanji. Now you can sidestep all the bow attacks or you can block them. It doesn't really matter which. It's just kind of good to get into the habit of always going to the left, because if you dodge to the right when he's using his kanji thrust, he can actually hit you more frequently than you'll dodge. Alright, so now we're going to speed this up so you don't have to watch the rest of this fight. Okay, so now that Genichiro's finished, here comes Isshin. This first phase will be a lot like the other one with Genichiro. It's all about getting him to use a certain set of moves so we can then hit him and then run off and not have to use all of our healing items. That way when we reach the harder phases, we will be able to have them. So start off by popping Echo's Sugar and Divine Confetti for a little bit more damage and then get back. When he starts stepping towards you and moving slowly, you want to start to run towards him and he'll do one of 3 moves. He will do the 3 sword slash like he just did, at which at the end you can get a single charging thrust attack off. If he then does this next move, which is the Isshin cross, you can then get directly behind him like that and then do a charged thrust attack followed up by a single regular slice, and you can hit him twice, which is why that move is the best move for him to use against you because you get more damage. The other move he uses is he'll come running straight at you with a single slash. That is the hardest move to actually try to counter with because you have to be at the right position to be able to hit him with it. So if he does do that, most of the time, just run off and wait for him to do either the Isshin cross or the 3 sword slash. And that's it pretty much for this first phase. We're just trying to whittle him down and get him to be able to do a death blow without using as many healing items as possible. Now comes Isshin's second phase, which I believe to be the hardest after they patched it in 1.04. There really is no way to cheese this fight. The only thing that really you can use to your advantage is the umbrella with the projected force skill. Always use your buffs in the beginning of the fight as it'll help. Now anytime he uses his wind charge attacks like this, pull out your umbrella, walk forward, and then use the projected force. Now be careful, because he will use his thrusting or sweep attack commonly after, and then follow it up by that backwards jumping sweep, which can be hard to block if you don't time it correctly. If you are fast enough though, you can dodge towards him and past it, and he will miss you with that backwards sweep jump. And always make sure when he uses his wind charge moves, after he hits you with it, it will knock you back. You need to walk forward a few steps, otherwise you will miss him with the projected force slice of the umbrella. Other than that, there really is nothing else you can really do to make this fight easier, except for the practice. You can Makiri counter his thrust, which he will always charge back up to his right, and then you'll see him start to thrust forward. You can Makiri counter that from a pretty good distance away, but if you are too far, you won't be able to follow it up with an attack counter. Just make sure that when he does his sweep, he will then take the spear to his left side and sweep around. Jump those, and if you can, if you're close enough, do a jump off of his head for some more posture damage. Other than that, there's really not much. Gokhan Sugar can help a little bit due to the fact that it will reduce the posture damage that you take, because you will be taking a lot and you'll probably break your posture a few different times during this state. Once you break him for the second time and you've delivered the second death blow, congratulations. You've now reached the third phase of this fight, which in my opinion is easier than the second because he now uses lightning attack. However, he also gets access to Ichimonji double. If he does hit you with it, it will lower the amount of posture damage he has. So be careful of that move. Now in this phase of the fight, your best tactic is to wait for him to use his lightning moves, reverse it back on him, and then go follow up with a whirlwind slash for some easy damage, or just run in and use a charging thrust attack. Like in the second phase, every time he uses his wind charge move, follow that with the prosthetic umbrella and use the projected force back on him. This phase, however, should be much simpler than the previous phase due to the fact that he is using lightning frequently. As long as you are able to counter it back onto him, it shouldn't be that tough. After this phase, it is finally complete and you have beaten the game. Congratulations. On a side note, this is the last fight of the game, so it is going to be very tough. Don't be afraid to use up all those items you've been saving throughout the game, such as divine grass, rice balls, rice, anything like that that will help you beat him once in the third phase, because more than likely you won't have very many healing items left. This is a hard fight, and don't be afraid to use anything at your disposal to help beat him.